Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. Here we are again. Now, remember, over the last couple of days, we've been talking about how does a conversation begin around creating useful concepts. And the bigger question is, like, if you're a CEO, if you're a departmental manager, if you're a functional manager, if you're a coordinator, if you're a floor manager, you know, where do you start a conversation around, like, what should we be doing? How do we improve? Where do we go from here? Now, today I met two new people. I had meetings with 4 CEOs today. The first CEO is a startup company, a software company. Second CEO is a factory manager. Third CEO was a marketing firm. And the fourth CEO was another IT programming software company. So now we've talked about some of the first 2 CEOs already to some extent. Let's talk about the next 2. So the 2 guys I talked to today were actually trial lessons. All right. So it's the first lesson when I first meet a new person. And this whole question of, like, where do we start has come up because it's my first time speaking to these people. So I speak to the first guy, and basically he's a CEO. I give him the spiel. I say, all right, so basically there's like 3 levels of management. Now either you can go through these 8 thinking tools for yourself. We can start from the top, or you can pick, like, is there a problem in your company? And then we can pick a certain managerial level and then work from there. He said, let's just go from the top. So if we go from the top, then we're going to ask them about expanding the range of services or product features for current or new customers, improving coordination, helping colleagues onboarding, expanding cooperation with providers or vendors, or improving this element of this business relationship in order to reach this outcome. Very generic. So he talks about social media management. He talks about finding new customers. So he's got a problem now. So as a CEO, he doesn't want to be so focused with finding new customers. He'd like to have a sales department and have a sales manager, some sales executives. All right, so then I said, well, how do you get to where you are now, where you are doing the sales work, to where you want to be? He said, well, first I got to, get the sales funnel figured out, standardize the process, and then improve the sales material. And I could do that through the current communications person, or I could hire a new person. Now, in this case, he's already shown that he wants to make a decision. So in that case, we're not going to go from the synergies to progress. We're going to go straight to impact because he's ready to make a decision. This is for decision level. All right, so then we throw him into this checklist. All right, so he says, I would like to put a salesperson in my company that has a deep understanding of social media and the things that they will be selling. All right, so we can give the current customer communication specialist additional responsibilities. We can hire someone from outside the company that has experience in this role, or we could have a community manager at the bottom of the organizational chart promoted to the sales position. All right, so what are the similarities? What are the differences? Now, the most important part are these metrics, because the metrics are what really help you make that decision. Now, in a very different experience, I talked to the second CEO, and he says, all right, well, let's just start at the very bottom. All right, so we start at the bottom, and then I started saying, all right, so, like, what are things that you want to improve in your company? All right, so that brings us back to here. Basically, we're trying to recognize a need or a problem. And he basically says that I want my guys to take more ownership. I need them to think more from the client side. Now, in order to do that, then we need to have the right number of effective stand-up meetings. And then, we started talking about, like, stand-up meetings. That actually put us into a decision again. So it put us the exact same spot. So now it's like, okay, so create a checklist to direct the stand-up meeting for people to follow. So is the CEO going to create that checklist? Are a functional managers going to make that checklist, getting feedback from the team? Or are you going to do some research to find out the best process to do a stand-up meeting? There's some similarities, there's some differences, and most importantly, there's some metrics. All right, so very interesting meetings today, especially since this is the area that I'm really focusing on right now, is making decisions. And here are 2 examples